the summer before the real work started in. Indoors we would get the dough. Cleaned it up, got it run. That is old Winnebago. And turn down 65. I know that version of myself singing that was much better than Eric Church's. But anyway, for today's lecture, we're going to be talking about some basic skills that we'll be focusing on, really, for the rest of the school year, not just for today, not just for tomorrow, but really from now until June. Some different things that, I'm sure you guys have had experience with before in your previous years of schooling in different classes. But making sure that we're really overemphasizing that, because there are going to be some, different research-based things that we're going to be looking at in the course of the year that are going to be things that you're going to need to master, understand. So let's make sure we're all on the same page with this, kind of going forward. So this won't take long, maybe 10-15 minutes of lecture time. Then you'll be doing some various activities to kind of build off of that. So anyway, skill building, and we're going to be going to our first unit of early American documents. All right, so a couple of things. Again, you should have all had this before, and again, in previous classes, but a primary source. Very important for this class, because we're going to be using a lot of this. And really starting off in this first unit with studying early American documents, like reading the U.S. Constitution. That's a primary source. The Articles of Confederation, some different quotes and pieces from the Federalist and Anti-Federalist papers, the Bill of Rights, Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and then various pictures and things that we'll be looking at from now until June. So what is a primary source? Again, it should be review, but it's any material that comes directly from a time period. Somebody that experienced something, that acknowledged it firsthand, and was there to experience that. So this could be newspapers that were around during a certain time. It could be a music or song that was around during a certain time period that reflects something. It could be a journal entry. It could be a picture. Really anything along those lines. A flyer, an artifact, could be a person. So again, it's anybody that directly really experienced something that came from the era that you're studying. So again, if you were studying the war in Iraq, World War II, somebody that was alive during that period, somebody that was maybe in the war, that has firsthand knowledge about, what things were like. Maybe D-Day, you're studying D-Day, World War II. Somebody that's actually stormed the beaches of Normandy, somebody that was actually there. Obviously, those sources are the best sources to use. So keep that in mind when you're doing research and you're going through things. Those are typically the best things to look for, if you can at all help it. So something's not a primary source, then you have something called hi Kennedy, can you say hi?
Hi.
Yeah. It's for my students.
Look.
Oh, that's very beautiful, Kennedy. All right, Kennedy, I'm giving a little thank you. Kids, like I say. So secondary sources. So primary sources are something that comes directly from that time period. A secondary source is any material that is about that time period and did not directly experience the event. So I myself, a lot of the things that we're going to be discussing in class are things that I wasn't alive for. I don't have firsthand experience. Now, again, I know it and I understand it. I'm teaching it to you, but I was not around during industrialization. I was not around during World War I or World War II. Again, that doesn't mean that I don't know what I'm doing or I don't know what I'm talking about, or your parents or whatever, but obviously, if you can all help it, again, primary sources are the best. So again, a biography. So somebody writes about the life of Doug Myers, remember Mr. Myers. That person didn't live in my shoes, didn't experience my things. They would be a secondary source. A song. You have the curtain rock bands that sing about things that happened in the past. Again, that would be secondary source. Certain movies. Now, if that movie had actual live footage of that time period,
Daddy?
oh, say hi, Chase.
Hi.
Perfect. That's my son, Chase. So movies. That's beautiful, buddy. I'm giving a little lecture. Sorry. Documentary. Nice. Documentary, encyclopedias, things of that nature would also be considered a secondary source. So again, in this example, Saving Private Ryan, that would be a secondary source. There really is no like live footage, even though the story is about a true, kind of a somewhat true, story. There's all the footage and pieces from that are all recreated. So kind of keep that in mind when you're looking through things. All right, so that's a secondary source. A bias. Yes, I'm an anti-Steelers, anti-Michigan fan. So obviously my picture there, they stink. So obviously, if you wanted an unbiased account, so if you were to ask me, who's the best football team, I'm gonna say Ohio State. I'm gonna say the Browns. I love them. They're my favorite. So I probably would be the best of source to go look at. If you were to say, what's the best school in Lorain County? The Midview Middies. So kind of keep that in mind with kind of reading things critically. Who is the author? Are they getting paid by an outside company? Is their job, for instance, is their job reliant on something? Are they getting a benefit from writing something or talking about something? So obviously, like for me, being a teacher, um, if you were talking about professions out there and somebody were to bash teachers or bash schools, I'm not gonna. I mean, I have a biased viewpoint. I would get in an argument, and I would defend teachers and defend schools. So I would definitely have a bias in that regard. I coach football. Same thing. I'm biased in that regard towards football. So obviously, you want to find unbiased sources. Look into the author. Especially nowadays with Facebook and Twitter and all these different mediums to get news. Who is the author? Are they getting paid by somebody? It's very, 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 very important that a lot of people don't do. They don't look into the backgrounds of the authors. That's something that's very important. Probably what you should do. So keep in mind for a little bit later. Validity. So is what the author's saying. Is it valid? So to show validity, it means it comes from good sources, unbiased sources. So is that source biased or not? So you want to have accurate and unbiased sources. So what's accurate? Is the person who's writing an article, are they citing their sources? Are they credible sources in terms of what they're citing? So again, that's very important. If something has a valid point, they have to have proof and evidence from these good sources and display accurate information to support that. Okay, cause and effect. Again, all year we'll be focusing on this, cause and effect. So an event that has a consequence can be good or bad. So again, you stay up late. There's a consequence for that. Maybe in the time, in terms of the good effect is you're experiencing whatever you're experiencing for why you're up at midnight. The bad effect of that could possibly be, well, maybe you're gonna be sleeping in school, maybe you're not gonna be focused, and that kind of thing. So we're gonna be focusing a lot with World War One, World War Two, causes and effects of that in terms of how it's going to impact history. Alternate course of history. How things might have been different if events did not occur. We're gonna have some fun with this, different predictions, different things over the course of the year. How would our life be different if this happened? Maybe if Germany won World War II, how would our lives be different? So some different things to kind of play with, and maybe I'll dive into alternative courses of history. It'd be kind of interesting. Sequence events, how things go in order as they happen. Again, we're going to focus on that all year. The steps that led to World War One, steps that led to World War Two, the Great Depression, all these different types of things. War on Terror. So again, a skill that we're going to be, really kind of honing in on. Stereotyping. So again, you want to make sure that as you're reading, thinking critically about this. We're going to be reading some different things over the course of the year that are going to have some stereotyping involved. So again, what's a stereotype? It's a preconceived. So you're going into something already thinking something. So for instance, if I'm walking down the street and I see a blonde, I'm gonna have so I don't know that blonde. I just see them. You might have assumptions about them. Maybe an athlete, same thing. Athletes have stereotypes. If you see an athlete, you might have a preconceived judgment of that athlete, of maybe he's being dumb or not intelligent, um, maybe not being a nice person. So those are all things that are associated with that. Teachers have a stereotype too. I don't agree with them, but whatever. We're stereotyped as being boring, as being mean, as being strict. All right, so this is important. We're going to be focusing on this in our next little activity. How do you determine if something's reliable? If something is, sorry, that's my dog barking at me. She has this ball. There is, how do you determine if something is credible or reliable? Especially nowadays, reading sources and seeing different sources. Very important to decipher. So there's an acronym that I am going to kind of go over with you. They'll kind of help you with this. It's called CRAP. So the C stands for currency. How current is information? Is it written from 1990, 1985, 2005, 2010, or is it 2020, 2019, 2018? Is it how current is it? That's important. The more current it is, the better, because as science evolves and as we kind of understand different things, that evolves, things kind of changes. Even think about with COVID-19, all these different things with COVID. Even in March, in February, we didn't know as much about the virus as what we do today. So even in a 4-month time span, that all kind of changed. So kind of keep that in mind as you're studying resources and as you're studying different things, how important that is. R in CRAP stands for reliability. What kind of information is included in the resource? Are they giving primary sources? Are they giving? Are they giving? Are they citing where they're getting the information from? Is that in the web page? Is that in the writing? Um, is the content? Is it opinion or is it fact? Again, be very careful of that. Um, on Facebook and on things, you give articles that are posted. Those are editorials. Those are opinion articles. Those aren't factual articles. So just be careful on what you're reading. Are you reading scientific or evidence-based text, or are you reading opinion-based text? So very important to understand kind of what you're reading as a reader. Is the author, are they giving references? Are they providing balance, both sides of the story? So the A in CRAP now stands for authority. Who is the author? Very, very important. I already alluded to this earlier, but who's the author? What are the credentials? Are they an expert? Are they a doctor in it? Are they special? Do they specialize in that? Are they being paid? Are they reputable? Are there advertisements on the website? So usually, if there's advertisements on the website, somebody's getting paid for that. What is their interest? Do they have a horse in the race? So what's their motivation for writing this article? Is it for science? Is it just for evidence-based? Or do they have something to get out of it? And then finally, the P in CRAP stands for purpose or point of view. Is the information fact or is it opinion? So again, is it an editorial or is it a fact-based statement? Let's see here. Are they trying to sell you something, or is it biased? So again, digging into the author's past. We have something called Google nowadays, fellas and ladies. Look up who the author is. Look at their history, their experience. Again, do they have something to lose from what they're writing? That's important. Doesn't mean necessarily they're wrong, but you need to think critically into what they're writing based upon maybe what biases they might have. All right. You can even see that. But here's another example of this. If you did some reading or watched these documentaries, I have read both. I saw both of these, read and watched. But even like America, the Story of Us. We'll watch some clips from this. This movie documentary kind of walks through the history of the United States, and they don't. I wouldn't say they deem it as like everything's all hunky dory, but for the most part, they have a much more rosy idea of what American history was. They leave and edit a lot of things out. Whereas if you read the Howard Zinn books, A People's History of the United States, he focuses a lot on the negative things, like Christopher Columbus, some of the awful things that he did. So again, you have two articles that are on the same thing, but one kind of paints a much more rosier brushstroke than the other. So that's why you have to think critically about it and know kind of what their agendas are. All right, so what you're going to be doing, you're going to be on this for the rest of the assignment. You're going to be looking into this website that I'm going to have. It's from DHMO. I want you to think critically. Use the acronym CRAP. I want you guys to kind of look at the website, read through it, click on the links. Wink, wink. You're going to have to do some investigating, some kind of surfing through this, and determine whether or not this source is a reliable source or not. So good luck. You'll be completing the assignments on that, and there will also be a Google form for you to complete as well. All right. Adios. Have a good day.